welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty cool, making the classic Tamiya Grasshopper handle, well, a lot better.
Yeah, it's a popular one. We're looking at a guide that details using front suspension parts from the Grasshopper II.
Right, so our mission is to figure out how this swap, which seems kind of straightforward, can make such a big difference, and why that's interesting, whether you love RC history, mechanics, or
Yeah,
just improving old classics.
exactly. The Grasshopper's an icon, but yeah, that front end was lacking.
Okay, let's dig into that original setup then. Single-piece lower arms, friction dampers.
What does that actually mean? Why was it not great?
Well, friction dampers is maybe generous. Think springs inside plastic tubes. There wasn't really any damping, just the spring bouncing and a bit of plastic sliding friction.
So bouncy?
Very bouncy, like a pogo stick, as the guide says. Really limited control, limited suspension travel too, and you couldn't adjust things like camber, basically just a step above a toy.
Ouch. Okay. So the Grasshopper II, how did that change things? What made its front end better for an upgrade? The big difference was separate lower A-arms, like wishbones, and separate uprights, or knuckles, that hold the wheels.
Okay. More parts.
Yeah, but that separation was key. It gave proper mounting points for actual oil-filled shock absorbers. The standard GH2 might have still used friction dampers, but the design itself could take proper shocks. Some special editions even came with them.
Right, it provided the foundation.
Yeah.
So if you want to do this upgrade on an original Grasshopper, what specific bits do you need from the GH2?
Okay, essential parts. You definitely need the Grasshopper II lower A-arms. That's part number 105340.
105340.
Got it. And the GH2 uprights, the knuckles, they're on the C-part sprue, number 105341.
Okay, C-parts, 105341, and the shocks themselves.
For the real improvement, yeah, you want oil shocks. The guide strongly recommends the Tamiya CVA Mini Shock Unit Set 2, part number 50519.
CVA Mini 2 50519. Those need building, right? And oil.
Correct. You assemble them, and you'll need silicone shock oil. We'll get to the oil weight later, but yeah, they don't come pre-filled.
Makes sense. Is that it, or is there other hardware involved? It seems like you'd need more to connect everything.
Oh yeah, definitely. You need a way to mount the top of those new shocks. A really common way is using Tamiya U-brackets, part 9805082.
U-brackets.
Then you'll need assorted M3 screws, nuts. Maybe some spacers to get the fit just right, like Tamiya's 5.5mm aluminum spacer set, 53539, is often used.
8 spacers, right.
You'll also need hinge pins or screw pins for attaching those new A-arms to the chassis. And depending on your steering setup, you might need to tweak the steering rods, maybe some 5mm ball connectors and adjustable turnbuckles.
Okay, so potentially a bit of fiddling with the steering too.
Could be. Oh, and don't forget grease for the moving parts and that silicone shock oil. The guide is pretty clear. 10-weight oil is highly recommended.
10 weight. Good tip. All right, so you've gathered all the bits, bolted them on. What's the actual difference? How does it feel?
Oh, it's night and day. Seriously. Those oil shocks, the CVAs, they actually control the suspension movement. Compression, rebound, it's all managed.
So less bouncing.
Way less bouncing. The tires stay in contact with the ground much better. That means more grip, much better steering response. It addresses what the guide calls the terrible handling of the stock car.
So it actually goes where you point it, roughly.
Pretty much. And it's much more stable over bumps. It won't just oscillate wildly after hitting something. Plus, you get tunability.
How so?
You can change the shock oil viscosity. We mentioned Tesorate is recommended for the Grasshopper's lightweight, but you could try others. And the CVA shocks might have different piston options too for finer tuning.
Interesting. And potentially more suspension travel?
Potentially, yes. It depends a bit on how you mount those upper shocks, those U-brackets, for instance. Where you place them matters. Mount them wrong, you could actually reduce travel.
Ah, okay. Good to know. Any other installation tips, things people run into?
Sometimes a little bit of trimming is needed, either on the Grasshopper chassis itself or maybe on the GH2 A-arms, just for a perfect fit. Nothing major, usually.
Okay.
Using small spacers on the hinge pins for the A-arms can take out any slop or play, keep things tight.
Makes sense.
And like we said, that upper shock mounting point is critical. The U-brackets work, but some people make custom mounts for maybe better geometry or more travel. That takes more effort, though.
Right. Custom is always an option.
Yeah, really stick with that light shock oil, like 10 Malit. It comes up again and again in the community wisdom for this car. And if you're struggling to find GH2 parts,
Yeah.
remember the Tamiya Rising Fighter and the Super Hornet use the same front suspension parts, so those are alternative sources.
Good tip.
No.
Okay, so wrapping up, this Grasshopper II front-end swap, It sounds like a really effective upgrade. You get proper damping with oil shocks, better stability, better steering, even some tuning options.
Absolutely. It takes the Grasshopper from being, a fun, bouncy classic to something that actually handles reasonably well. It's a tangible improvement you can really feel.
It really highlights how much difference a relatively small design change can make, doesn't it? Moving from just springs to controlled damping.
It really does. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it, what other simple mechanical tweaks, like adding proper damping, could unlock hidden performance or just make everyday things around us work that much better.
That's definitely some food for thought. Thanks for digging into this with us.
My pleasure.
Until next time on The Deep Dive.